And we're waiting to go live on Facebook. Now we're on Facebook. All right. So I got to remember how to do this, right? It's been a while. Anyways, welcome in, everyone. Yeah, welcome into Leupold Live. This is the first one in 2019. I'm Nick. And for this episode, I thought that we would run through some of the new product that we have that just came out, right? So as most of you guys know, we're at SHOT Show. We launch a lot of cool new product. You guys have some questions about it. This is your time to get those questions in, get them answered. We're going to run through some features and benefits of those new products. And we're really excited for what's coming out in 2019. And then we got some more new products in the way too. We're always innovating. So with me, I have Mr. Tim Lesser. Hi. So Tim is our VP of new product. He's kind of the guru around all this new stuff coming out here, right?
Well, the team is, but I get to have a little part in all of it. Which one of these cameras am I talking to?
You can look into either one. So yeah, I know it's a little weird.
Fair enough.
I think Facebook and then Instagram right there.
All right, now I can differentiate.
Yeah, right. So if you want to talk to Facebook people, if you want to talk to Instagram people. Yeah.
All right.
So Tim, I always like getting a little background around the the presenters and how long you been here at Leupold?
So all total, I've been here almost 17 years.
Yeah.
So I started out in tech service. Sound familiar?
Right.
Which is a great area, right? So tech service is it's kind of been split up a little bit now, but essentially it's anything from mailing out catalogs. Things used to be a little different.
Right.
A lot of paper catalogs. So licking stamps and writing addresses and mailing them out to ballistics questions. Where do I go transonic?
Right.
If I change from this elevation temperature to that, what happens to my dial or my ballistics? So it's a big range of questions that you get, going clear back to our firefinders and compasses. And
yeah. You guys get some questions about the instruments that we used to make too, right?
Right.
Yeah, that people get. Yeah.
So it's a neat spot, as you know, right? You get questions on everything, so you kind of learn everything, and you get to hear the input.
Right, the insights from the consumer, from the customer. I think that's super important now that we have someone who's in charge of the products coming out, and a lot of those team members, a lot of those product line managers too, spent time in tech service, so that you have people who get, they're familiar with the insights of the customer, what they need, what they want. And I think that's what I know that's what you guys are seeing in the new product coming out, right? Is the requests from the customers, the insights, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, when we do that, as you know, in a few ways. So I spent a little over a decade, I guess, as a hunting guide.
Right.
So that gives me a little bit of a different perspective in what do you need for professional level use, right? When you're using it all day, every day for a couple hundred days a year, that's different than pick it up, look through it. Nope, that wasn't a deer.
Right.
And keep moving.
Yeah. Or it comes out of the gun cabinet once a year, right, and use it, and then goes back in, right?
Put it back in.
Using it every day. Yeah.
Check, your zero round. Oh, yep, still hit the bullseye. And then if it's like a lot of people when you hunt on your own, you don't get to shoot it as often
you're not
in the
shooting
field as you would hope. So there's that piece of it, and then of course we have a lot of folks here with 700 folks that are hunters,
right?
And we lean on our industry influencers, people that are now doing that 200 days a year when some of us can't.
Yeah. I mean, we reach out, those guys get insights on what they want to see in the new product and roll that in for sure. So let's dive right in what we got. I think the biggest one that people had been asking about and people have been wanting for years and years is this bad boy right here. So explain to them what this is.
Sure. So this is a range-finding binocular. We call it the RBX 3000 because it's a range-finding bino.
Right.
So that's where the RB and the X come from.
Okay.
3000 is a distance. Now we measure our distances a little bit differently.
Right.
So if you want to go all the way out and just range something like a highway sign, you can probably get farther distances. But in the field, we're trying to get deer or trees that are beside deer or elk or whatever else. So we're a little more conservative with our numbers on the range finding side. But it'll allow you to range way out there.
That's and I talked about it with someone the other day. It's kind of an arms race with the rangefinders. It's like what's the highest number that we can put out there? But does that actually mean that you're going to get that performance in the field, right? Where we're taking the track that, and I know Eric, the PLM who is over this, he stresses the performance on soft targets, right?
Yes.
On the trees and the deer and that kind of stuff, which is maybe the more important number that you don't hear about a lot. in the rangefinder game.
It is. Now for hunters, right, because you're hitting a softer target. For shooters, it's because it's a smaller target, right? So if you're trying to hit an E-type or whatever it is out there, it's not this big, massive thing, and it's sticking up.
Right.
So if you miss that and you range past it, that's a bad deal when you're out there at a mile or farther. So we really focus on that. The other piece of it is environmentals. So one of the things that you don't think about is if you turn the sensitivity way up, let's call it that. So the sensitivity on the receive unit when it comes back, if that's turned up way high, you can get some distance out of that. But the problem happens when there's rain or snow or fog or anything in the air, and the beam bounces back off of every little particle that's out there.
You don't get
How does it process that?
Yeah.
And so that's what we do digitally inside, is make sure that what is the true reading? What are you really trying to get out of that? And so where a lot of them will fail on you, fog's probably the worst. Heavy snow is another one. These will, to some extent, range through it. Obviously, if you can't see the target, it's going to be tough to range. But
right. I know we spent a lot of time designing the electronics on the inside to really be efficient at that kind of thing, in different climates and environments and stuff like that. And speaking of climates and environments, the other cool thing about that, it also has onboard sensors too.
It does.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So you get humidity, temperature, barometric pressure, right? Yeah. So you get a lot of your data. If you want to do ballistic calculations and stuff like that, you can get it off the rangefinder, which is really nice.
It'll tell you real time. So you see it in the display, and it'll give you all that data. So that's handy for the rifle shooters. For the archery folks, one of the things that's key to note is, first of all, you put the button on the most popular side. Most people are carrying bow in the left hand, bino in the right, and if the button was over here, you have problems. Buttons on the side that you're most likely to use. The other piece is for archers, a difference in distance of 4 or 5 yards means hopefully a miss, but in a lot of cases, wounding. Right? And so with the engine that we use in all of our rangefinders, we're trying to make sure that whether you range a white target or a dark target or a gray target, you get the same distance, which is not always the case. So if you look at a field, like a field tip target and a broadhead target on a 3D course, a lot of times one's light, one's dark. With other rangefinders, you may get 5-6 yards variance.
Wow.
Even though they're at the same distance, because white is more reflective. Just picture a laser pointer, like you have one of those laser pointers you run your dog around with.
Right, yeah.
If you put that on a white background, it's really bright.
You're going to see it a lot.
Slide it over to a black background and it absorbs it. Right?
Yeah.
That's how the rangefinder interprets the signal. And so it'll tell you that those targets are farther away, the darker ones, because it's coming back softer.
Yeah.
So we process for all that to make sure that regardless, you're getting 10th yard accuracy.
See, those are little nuggets of information that are really important when thinking about a rangefinder, right? And not just looking at that high number that it's marketed for, right? What's all the little, how does it actually perform in the field? What's the variances? How accurate of a rangefinder is it? The beam divergence and all that good stuff, being able to pick up small targets. The other really cool thing about this too is the optics on it. So, it's not just taking a rangefinder and a binocular and, smashing them together.
I wish it was.
Right?
We'd have had it a little sooner.
Right, but that goes to, the point of that we make sure the products are going to perform to a high level before they come out. And the optics, speaking of performance, the optics in those are incredible.
Yeah, so I can say hands down that there's not a better binocular out there.
Yeah.
By any brand, anywhere, and that bar's pretty high, if we're being honest, for the ultra premium kind of market that's out there.
Absolutely.
But if you're going to take what I call your primary observation tool, right? So for me, whether it's while I'm hunting or when I was guiding, 90% of my success is based around this right here. I may verify with the spotting scope, or I may search way out with the spotting scope. When it really comes down to it, though, I'm in bino range and I need to make sure that I'm on the right animal, whatever it might be. So you need top quality glass. The other thing that you need is it can't be blue. You can't have a different shade when you look through it, and that's a pretty common thing. So one of the things that we don't talk about a whole lot is the displays are red, right? And the red needs to be reflected back to you. So if we let all the red color come through most rangefinders, then it doesn't reflect.
It's going to wash out.
The display's down here, and it injects it up in there and reflects back to you. So there's a coating in there that helps reflect red in most rangefinders. That gives you a bluish hue.
Okay, yeah, you'll see
you
that
cut-
tint if you look through some rangefinders, and
Yeah,
it looks like
any of the red ones, the handheld rangefinders, you'll typically see that.
Yeah.
It's a really effective way of doing it.
Okay.
Problem is when it's your, you're going to look through this all day, every day. You don't want it to look blue.
You're in Smurfville all day long, yeah.
And in low light, that's going to be a little bit more of a problem. For me, the biggest thing is recognizing the throat patches and antler tips and things that are on animals, or really picking out those harder to see targets.
Yeah.
So these, it gets more difficult to do, but there's no color change. You don't get a color shift, and that's done with a different type of a display.
Right.
It costs a little more to do that.
Right.
But when you're trying to really preserve the top quality optics, you've got to go
the
that
clarity
way.
and the performance, and really the low light performance, which is what we hang our hat on, right? Being able
Mm-hmm.
to see that detail, like you said, in low light conditions, or in inside the forest in a clear cut or something like that, tree line or something, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah, and so then you've got that figured out, but you really need to make sure that you've got the right edge-to-edge clarity. And we talk about that, and people hear it, and it becomes a buzzword.
Yeah.
On a bino, it really is important, because if you're going to sit in glass all day, if it's not flat, well, one, if it's too flat, it actually makes you sick.
Yeah.
But if it's not a proper field when you
Yeah.
look through it, and it's not crisp all the way to the edges, as you pan, your eye notices the differences and tries to correct. And that's where you get that eye strain.
eye
One,
strain
it could be
fatigue,
alignment, right?
Yeah.
If that could be one of the problems. But assuming that everything's built the way it's supposed to be, and they're aligned like they should be, that's what gives you the eye strain. Is not having it flat and having it crisp all the way to the edge. Your eyes tries to compensate, and pretty soon you've got a headache, and now you're not looking through your binos.
Right, and you're not going to be as successful, right? So
Yep.
that edge-to-edge clarity again, yeah, super, super important. So let's see, someone on here, I think maybe got deleted off. Someone was asking about, when are we coming out with the range-finding binos? So, yep, there it is, right there. So when are they going to be shipping?
We're aiming for mid-year.
Mid-year?
Is probably the easiest way to phrase that.
Nice.
They're performing really well, but we need to make sure that everything is exactly what we think it is, and so
Yep.
we go through a couple of validations on that, and we're headed through the second one. You never know quite what you're going to find, but our tests are pretty good at weeding out any real issues. So
We test, and then we test, and then we retest, and we keep testing. We make sure that, when it goes out on the market, that there's not going to be any issues or anything. So,
Yep.
yeah, super excited for that, though. That's a long time coming, but the performance you're going to get out of this is definitely worth the wait. On the binocular side, also, we have the new Alpines that came out, right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of the other side of that. Maybe you're more value-oriented pair of binos, but definitely not lacking performance, right?
no, not at all. And so these are like you said, down in probably the best value
Right.
that we've got, at least dollar for dollar. And so this particular one here is a 10 by 42. We've
Yeah.
got 842s, 1042s, and then you can move up a little bit bigger and go 1052 or even 12.
Right, yeah.
52. But these are extremely good binoculars. We've gone back and redesigned some of the more important pieces, which are eye cups.
Right, yeah.
And so if you've got an eye cup that has this kind of larger surface area, how that touches on your face, and honestly how it allows you to get the right distance from the back lens,
The eye
from the
relief,
ocular
yeah,
lenses,
yeah,
everything, just the comfort feel that you get. We wanted to go back and just redesign all of that. Make sure that everything from the way it fits in your hand, feels in your hand, remove some of the armor. Armor's made out of rubber. It's actually kind of heavy.
Yeah.
But if you don't put any armor on there, then you freeze your hands. That's something that we've found out the hard way. Let's just peel it all off.
Just test it,
Then
yeah.
you're wearing gloves when it's only 30 degrees out.
Right.
But this Alpine has been an overwhelming success for us.
Huge success. Yeah, and like you said, it's just not another bino that we're just introducing just to have another bino in the lineup. Actually going back and redesigning a lot of those key elements of it. I think it's a full magnesium body, right?
It is, yep.
So nice
Keeps the weight
lightweight.
down.
Yeah, super rugged body. Yeah, for the price point that those are going to be, that is an outstanding pair of binoculars.
Yep.
Spoonman78 here asks, when are the 12 by 52s going to be available on those Alpines there?
And so those are going to be, where are we? We've got the 8s and the 10s are out now. I think we need about 4 weeks before those will be shipping from us.
Nice.
So take a little time to
And what are the price points on those?
Yeah, so at retail, you're essentially looking at between $229 and $289, roughly.
Okay, perfect.
You may see it vary slightly, but that's starting at the 8x42 and working up to the 12 by 52s. Nice. That'll get you up to around $289.
Nice. And I apologize. I'm getting over a cold here, so if I'm taking a bunch of water and if my voice goes, I got some congestion going on. But I'm here and we're doing it. So. Let's see. Let's take some questions real quick. Remember, guys, you can type in your questions. I'm getting them live right here. The Lto Tracker HD, able to detect game out at 500 feet. 500 feet for sure. I don't know if maybe that meant to say yards. Usually,
it might. Yeah. So we don't have one here to show you, but these are a handheld thermal unit that look a lot like for those that aren't familiar, look a lot like half of a binocular.
Yeah.
And then there's a display on the back. And you can look through them and they detect heat. I think it's important to note that when you're specifying distance,
correct, yeah,
on a thermal unit, there is a universal formula that's used, and that formula says, okay, if you can detect 2 pixels of heat variance at this distance, and there's a big algorithm that it goes through, that's how you determine distance. So one of the things that we like to do. Yes, it will do. I think it's actually specified to 700 yards.
750, I think. Yeah,
750.
If I remember.
On the HD, but we have to ask the honest question, which is: are 2 pixels going to tell you enough at that distance?
Yeah, you're not going to see an outline of an animal at 750 yards, right?
Buck versus doe, never going to happen.
No. Yeah. So.
But to be perfectly honest, we don't have a great way of quantifying that because it depends on so many things: background, humidity, a number of things. So if you've got a person that was just sitting inside of a nice hot tent or something with the heater going, and then they jump out and all their clothes are warm, you're going to be able to see that for 500-600 yards pretty easy.
Right.
Animals, I think, as we all know, typically have pretty good coats.
Insulation,
so there's not a whole lot of heat coming off of them, but to tell the difference at 250 is with the HD is pretty common. You can tell person from dog, deer from pig, things like that. On the standard version is probably closer to 200.
Yeah. Good. Randy, wow, I don't even know how to say your last name here. I'm not gonna try it. Most affordable binocular and spotting scope. So we talked a little bit about that new Alpine coming out. Definitely an affordable pair of binoculars there. We also have our Mackenzie too. That's our BX1 option 2. A little more affordable than that. Still a great binocular. For the spotting scope too, we have a Ventana.
We do.
Yep. So that's going to be our introductory kind of level of spotting scope in our lineup there. Also take a look at the compact Goldring spotting scopes too. Those are a lot of spotting scopes that kind of get forgotten about.
It's a great point. So what they really are, we have them listed as compact spotting scopes.
Yeah.
Think of them in some cases as more of a hand or pocket-sized variable monocular.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
And it's pretty handy. So one of the things that I do when I'm calling predators, instead of bringing, it's bobcat season right now, so that's kind of what I got on my brain. Instead of bringing a binocular, because most of the time the idea is to call stuff in.
Yeah.
Right? But cats are notorious for coming in and sitting next to a bush or up on top of a stump or something and just looking.
Right. They're smart. They're not going to present themselves.
And so they just sit still. So I use one of those compact spotting scopes. I actually use the 10 to 20 because it will fit in my hand, not visible. Like it's got a side focus, so I can various distances. But it goes from 10 to 20, and it's that's a really useful power range. We also have a 15 to 30.
Yeah,
and they're tiny and lightweight.
Yeah, even you think spotting scope, you might think of something big like that. That 10 to 20 is probably like that big, literally. Like you could have it on your belt and just have it here super quick.
Yep.
And really handy to have. Yeah, great point. Let's see. Do any new scopes come in the burnt bronze colors? So I just checked with the custom shop. They are taking burnt bronze orders for Cerakote. So you can buy a VX5 HD, a VX6 HD, get it in that burnt bronze color. So call up the custom shop at 1-800-Leupold and talk to someone there, and they can get an order set up for you.
Yeah, I think we want to mention on that you would want to order it that way. So we do the Cerakote on the white parts so that we can make sure that it's fully cured with a higher temperature.
Yeah.
So if you've already got your scope, if you're thinking of going that direction, call us and order it that way rather than trying to retrofit. Essentially.
Yeah. If coating a already pre-made scope just causes some other issues and it doesn't look as clean when you get a completed Cerakote scope from us. We're going to laser all the stuff through the Cerakote. It's going to look like a nice finished product. And man, yeah, if you're thinking about, I know a lot of guys are putting it on those Browning X bolts or those Christensen. A lot of brands are coming out with actions and barrels that are burnt bronze color. It looks really, really good.
It does look good.
James Walker, thanks for that question there. A lot of questions on this next new product. I want to grab this for you. So
there we go.
The RDS right there. So this is it's got a lot of buzz going on. And people are really, really excited about this. So explain a little bit about what we got going on here.
Sure. So this RDS is in our Freedom line.
Yep.
And so what we're trying to get to here is ultra rugged, ultra reliable red dot sight. So that's where RDS comes from.
Right.
One of the things that we've done here, a lot of the challenges that come with a red dot sight are related to either A, sighting them in, or B, keeping them zeroed.
Yeah. Right.
You've got these little tiny adjustments that are on there.
I don't know how many classes I've gone to. I love going to tactical classes and training classes, and I know instructors really like that. You have to do it. You have to have everyone check their zero, everyone sight in
every day.
It takes like 2 hours every morning because people are just like their zeros are everywhere and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of annoying. So
and then it doesn't tend to hold.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Then lunchtime you got to recheck zeros because it might have drifted off somewhere, right? So yeah.
One of the things we tried to really go after here is a nice small size, but more importantly, the functionality of a true rifle scope. So when you want to start running dials, it sights in just like a normal rifle scope. What we found was by doing that, you've now got ability to do things like this has a ballistic dial on it.
Right,
So I think we've all got a 223 on an AR platform somewhere, and you do I'll zero it at 50, it'll be kind of on at 200, and then I'll guess from there or use holdover points.
Right.
This one has a BDC dial set up already, so when you want to adjust for distance, you get your buddies out there and hey, think you can hit that rock. You're going to win.
Right.
On
so
that.
so standard 223 55 grain going 3,100 feet per second. That's what it's calibrated for there. And then you got your numbers in yardages. So I want to take a 400-yard shot. I turn it to the number 4, compensated for the drop of the bullet. I'm going to be able to hit that piece of steel out there right at 400 yards.
Yep.
The other key to being able to do that I think is really advantageous of the RDS here is the size of the dot inside the
size and crispness.
Right.
So it doesn't bloom.
So it's a 1 MOA dot, right?
It is.
Yeah. So the benefit of that being that at those distances you're not going to cover up too much of the target. If you had a 3 or a 6 MOA dot, I mean, some of those dots and other ones get pretty big, right?
Get real big.
You're going to kind of have to guess. You're going to put the dot on it and be like, I think it's kind of right there. Where this being super precise, right?
Yeah. So I mean, if it's 5 minutes and you put it on a 500-yard target, we can do that multiplication, and you're covering a lot, right? And so this comes with, it is a 34 millimeter tube, so it comes with the mount. It's ready to go out of the box, so you can slap it on there. You can't see it, but the recoil lugs across the bottom are actually machined into the bottom of the base.
Right.
So it's all machined out of one solid piece. 3 keeper screws here, just to make sure everything's really on.
Yeah.
And the result was, so we do all of our kind of life cycle testing for rifle scopes to a very extreme level here, and we can break anything pretty quickly. We had a hard time even finding the breaking. We were breaking the machine on this. It's small enough, it's lightweight enough, and it's based on indestructible internals that we've refined year after year after year. This one, drop tests onto concrete. We have not found the weaknesses with this one. It's just ultra rugged.
I think sometimes people go to over-engineer stuff, and I think they kept it simple with the performance still inside, and that is really the key to the RDS here. And the fact that, like Tim said, it comes with the mount. I couldn't believe it came with the mount for the price points that we're hitting with that. I think, what is the price for the non-BDC one?
Yeah, so this one has the BDC, and so this is $399. The non-BDC is $299.
Yeah, right. So $299 with a mount for lifetime warranty. Speaking of the dot 2, super daylight bright. I mean, on those brightest settings, you're going to be able to see it in the daytime, no problem. There's a lot of questions about it here. So Tony Phillips 24, you had mount capability with new RDS. Like we said, it comes with the mount. It
is 34 mil. So if there's something else out there, just you got a short tube design here. So this mount was made specifically for it.
How tall is the mount that comes with the RDS? I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but it puts it to the right height.
I think this one was run at right at 1.5.
1.5.
Let us verify. It might be 1.55, but I think it's 1.5.
Yeah, I know. I stuck it on this AR, this nice AR here, and it was perfect when I mounted the rifle. So it was good. LCO versus new RDS comparison, Conan 76 malts. So it's not exactly apples to apples when we're comparing the two, right? Obviously, one costs a little bit more than the other one, right? The LCO, it's just like your rifle scopes, right? The higher you go up in the line, maybe the better level of glass you're going to get air clarity. So that LCO, the glass on that is super, super clear. Not saying the glass isn't as clear on this, but like your field of view is going to be a little bit wider on the LCO than the RDS, right?
One of the biggest things that we did between the two is this one is designed to be very easy to use, very easy to sight in, ultra rugged, all the things that you need. On the LCO, the primary concern was battlefield of view.
Right, exactly.
Right? And so all these controls, illumination, which is on this side, elevation adjustment, windage adjustment, mounting system, we wanted all of that below the sight. We wanted it down so it was not in your field of view, so you just had a very thin wall. We also went with a square window, which is for the human eye, for some reason, and maybe it's all the screens and monitors,
right,
I don't know what it is.
Looking at squares,
that square window tends to feel a little faster for entry teams and things like that. In order to keep that square, now you can't run it on a machine that would turn it, so it's a more expensive operation just for the housings, the glass, everything else.
Right.
But really getting those controls down lower and integrating the foot, the mount, and the battery and everything below your eye line is it's a little more challenging to do, and it costs a little bit more.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense. But just like the scopes, like I mentioned, like when you move up, to the LCO or you want to get an RDS, you're not sacrificing quality and durability or anything like that. They're both going to run. They're both going to be super durable.
Yep. Same testing for both.
Same testing for both. And speaking of, Nick27H here says, will RDS hold up to my Marlin 4570? So
zero worries.
So already wanting to stick this on a lever gun there. So that would be kind of cool. And again, we did design this kind of with the AR in mind, but man, there's a lot of different other applications that you could put that on for sure.
Yep.
I'm trying to scan here. Let's see if there's any more RDS questions. You guys are really excited about this thing.
Good, we are too.
Yeah.
It's great. Right. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm going to get out this weekend and shoot this one, so I'm super excited about that. Let's see, what else we got here? Let's talk about some scopes. So, VX5 HD. So people are probably familiar with the VX5 HD line that's been out for, 2 years or so now?
Yep.
But we got some other models coming along, right?
Yeah, so this one here is the 4-20.
Okay.
This one happens to have the 2-turn dial on it, but one of the key differentiators, other than the power. So this is a 4-20. You've got a 52 millimeter objective here. We offer this, which is more of a, I don't want to call it hunting, but kind of a crossover type of a scope.
Yeah.
In that we keep all the controls short and small.
Right.
It's a zero lock, so this is our CDS ZL2.
Right.
It locks in place. You can go up 2 full turns, which is essentially 40 minutes.
Right.
And then it comes back down and locks in place. There are going to be CDS target, so TZL3 options as well. The adjustment's a little bit taller, but now you're going to have access to 3 full turns. So in some instances where you're not as worried about fitting it in and out of scabbards, you would rather have the extra versatility of being able to use the third full revolution.
If you got a bench rest gun or something like that, you're just going to take to the range, and not worried about getting caught on branches and stuff through the woods.
Yep.
So that 4-20 is going to be, I think that's going to be a really popular magnification. I actually, at a couple of the shows after SHOT Show, had guys come up and already asking about the 4-20. It was like, when can I get the 4-20? When can I get the 4-20? There's another magnification too, right? We're coming out.
So this one here is the 4-20. We also have a 7-35 coming out, and so one key thing on that, it is focal. And as you get up to something like a 7-35, that becomes very handy.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get over here. Front focal definitely has a place, and it's really application specific. But when you get up into real powers, like a 7-35, if it's front focal, you need to make a choice between, does it is it usable on what power, right? Because
Right.
it's straight ratio.
Right.
So a lot of times when you get up to that highest power and the reticle keeps growing, it's too thick. It covers too much of your target.
Yep.
So the 7 to 35s will also be available with the TZL3 locking adjustment, but now you've got a lot more horsepower, right?
Yeah.
So that 7 to 35 power is a big deal.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. So that's awesome for the VX5 HD line. Speaking of 7 to 35, I'm going to grab this bad boy here. So this is my rifle.
There you go.
So got a 7 to 35 on there. This has been the talk of the competition circuit. The PRS guys and NRL guys and everyone's shooting. When are you going to have a 7 to 35? And everyone's been really excited about the 5 to 25 Mark V HD.
Yep.
But yeah,
right
we listen though, right? So
yeah, so there's the 3.6 to 18, there's the 5 to 25, which I've got here, and now there's the 7 to 35.
right.
And these are coming out mid-year.
Right.
So we've got some here. We just need to get them off the line,
Yep.
get them out and shipping so that they'll be available in stores. But they're coming real soon. They're available in both MOA and MIL. And so one of the things that we just launched more recently is the MOA versions of all these things, right?
Right.
So we started with MIL, but there's a lot of folks that still prefer MOA.
Yep.
And so we're listening to that and just following up with the MOA versions. Again, you get 3 full turns. These things have a 35 millimeter main tube. The turret design is a little bit different, so you can really get a lot of travel out of it. The biggest thing is, can you use the travel? Once you get a dial on there, you may be limited. The scope may have a lot, but you can't use it all, right? And so this one looks like this one's a mil here.
Yep.
So you get 10 mils per turn, you get 30 mils in your dial.
In your dial.
You can
right.
go
3
half mil
revolutions,
below if you need to for offset change.
Yep.
But you've got a locking feature here, dial indicator that shows you as you're coming up which turn you're on, and you get 30 full mils, or on the MOA versions, you're going to get 75 minutes on your dial.
Yeah, so those MOA versions are cool too. It's a new reticle in there, the PR1 MOA reticle.
Yep.
It's kind of like your TMR style reticle, but in MOA hash marks instead of mil increments, right? So really, really excited about this. Wanted to touch on this too. Not that it's super new, but it was new for a little bit for last year, is the Delta Point ring top mount too. So for your Mark IV rings or your IMS mounts, you can get a ring top to put your Delta Point on. This, a lot of guys use this for maybe some 3-gun stuff, but it actually is really beneficial. A lot of guys are moving to it in the long range game. It helps you just align your target easier, right? When you're magnified,
less up and down.
Right, less up and down. When you're magnified, say you're on 35 power, your field of view is a lot lower. And sometimes you'll see guys, you'll be like, okay, target over there, and then they'll try to look for it, and they're like around everywhere because you can't see it. Field of view is so low. You can come off the rifle a little bit, use the red dot, align it, pop back down your magnification, and you're going to be on target. It's a really quick method of doing that, so really beneficial. Those are in 1-inch, 30 millimeter, 34 millimeter, 35 millimeter. So any flavor you guys want. So let's see. Yeah, Brennan 23B. He was asking about the 735 when it's going to be available. Like Tim said, we're working on them right now.
Is that on the Mark Vs? So
Yeah,
one of the
Mark
things,
V.
I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it yet.
You're in charge here. You talk about whatever.
There will also be a rear focal version of that coming.
Okay, yeah. So rear focal version
on the
anyone
Mark
wants it.
Vs, which is handy.
So like rear focal, front focal, MIL, MOA, whatever you want. There's going to be a scope for you. That's really exciting. Let's see. What else we got going here? Actually talking about mounts too. We talked about the DP Pro mount. We have a 45-degree mount now, rail mount. So those are super handy. If you don't want to mount your DP Pro up above on the ring top, you want it down on the rail.
Yep.
Reversible, can be on the left side, can be on the right side, whatever way. So really handy to have those. New backcountry mounts too. We talked about a little bit about these last year, but now they're getting into the channel. You guys are probably starting to see them at stores and stuff. And we have 35 millimeter ones in the backcountry mount too.
Yeah, and
which
so
is nice.
For those of you that have looked at 34 and 35 millimeter mounts, the price starts getting ridiculous.
So you're
right?
like, it's the price of the scope sometimes.
Did it
mounts,
really cost that much more to put a bigger hole through it?
Less material. Yeah.
And so there are differences. It requires different machines. There are reasons for some of it, but when you just look at material and machining, it shouldn't cost that much more. And so that's what we're really going after here. Is you can get These they mount real economically onto rail, Picatinny or even Weaver, if necessary, because of the snag design and the way that they come up and level mount because of the way they attach.
Right. Yeah. The snag is more contact area, a better fit basically to the rail on the bottom of the ring. So just a better design.
So check those out. That's a much more affordable way to do that.
Cool. Let's run through some questions here. We got a lot of questions coming in. Will caps be, PDX Patriot, Josh, thanks for tuning in over there at Oregon Rifle Works. Will caps be available in metric for the RDS? Just MOA right now, right? For the
so out of the box, so I think we should just cover that.
Yeah.
So out of the box, you've got those two options. That dial, even though we list it as a BDC dial, so it comes engraved with certain specific ballistics on it. We found that those work on carbine length with most 55 grain really well.
Yeah.
If you want to shoot a different bullet weight, so if you want to go heavy, or you have a longer barrel or shorter barrel or whatever it is, if you want, just like we do with our CDS scopes, you can purchase a second dial with it. So it comes with that one on it.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to buy a CDS type dial that matches your exact ballistics, we can do that, and that could be metric. It could be we can measure it whichever way you would like at that point.
Yeah, those are $80. You call up the custom shop 1-800 Leupold, and they can get you set up with a dial for your ballistics. Yeah, if you're shooting a 77 grain or something like that, or you're shooting a 20 or 22 inch barrel, maybe it's a little different. We can dial those ballistics in for you. In America, yes, they are. They're made downstairs. Anything with a Goldring on it is going to be made out of the factory here in Beaverton, Oregon. If it goes on, and tactical stuff too, right? If it goes on a rifle, it's coming out of the factory here. So that's how we do it. What are the magnification on the SX5 spotter, and are they offered in straight and angled? Donnie Wilson. So actually, we do have one of those right here. That's a good segue into that. Again, not a brand new product for 2019, but it was released later in the year, last year.
So it's new to
last year, so
a lot
it's new.
Of folks. Yep.
Talk a little bit about that SX5 HD. This is kind of the premium spotter now that we have in our line.
It is. So this one's a 27 to 55, and one of the reasons that we did that is, as you start stretching the zoom ratio. So actually, maybe I should back up. One of the reasons it's not a 10 to 80 zoom range, as an example, is you add cost, you add length. But more importantly, the wider the zoom ratio, the harder you're working the internal elements. So that means that your resolution is going to take a little bit of a hit. So we went through and did a lot of studying, and between 27 and roughly 55 is where most people need the performance out of a spotting scope. You start getting into mirage issues, unless you're high up on a hill over snowy field in a cold day. A lot of times above 55, you're starting to get mirage issues. Below that, you're really just searching and trying to find it. So if you have an easy to use platform, a nice forgiving eye box, and a big field of view, you don't need to go much lower than that. And that's why we've chosen the 27 to 55 range on these. And what we can really do is tighten up that optical performance then, when you compare it to a 20 to 60 or something like that.
Yeah, that's
while keeping the cost reasonable.
That's why I tell people it's usable magnification. 10 to 80 sounds awesome until you realize I can't use the 10 to 25 and the 65 to 80 or whatever, right? It's just added weight and length to something that you're not going to be able to use or use efficiently, right? So
you're either adding length and weight or you're adding cost. And so our goal was to keep it the most usable and most affordable all at the same time. This is the angled one, right? We do have a straight eyepiece. One of the questions we get, are they removable eyepiece? On this one, the answer is no, intentionally. If you think about that for flights and backcountry stuff, if you can take that eyepiece off, is it sealed? If you can remove it and put it back on, you've now got an air gap in there. We all know rifle scopes are sealed and purged and filled with some form of a gas, nitrogen, argon, etc. If you've got a joint right here where you can take it out on and off, you no longer have a seal between those, and you do run the risk of having that fog. You can take it off and wipe it off, but for us, we like things to work no matter what. and we just want to guarantee that they'll perform under any circumstance. So that's why we do that.
Ah, good. Yeah, definitely go take a look at the SX SandyAm, SX5 SandyAm HD. I was super impressed with the image quality out of this thing. It blows other stuff away for sure. Oh, and Donnie has a follow-up question here. Will you be making the SX5 in a compact version? That's a good question. Yeah.
Right now, our focus on compact spotting scopes is really on the Goldring line. And so that's that 10 to 20 and the 15 to 30 that are what we were talking about, kind of being those more like a handheld zoom monocular.
Yeah.
That's where we're headed with the compact ones. Even the 15 to 30 is only, what, 20 ounces?
It's not big, yeah.
The other one, I think the 10 to 20 is more like 14 ounces.
Right.
So they're extremely lightweight, extremely compact, and handy for certain circumstances for sure.
S-Spike 2002, what scope would you recommend for 1022 that I use for rodents?
I'd be looking. If your scope is focused out at 150 yards, as you turn that power up, you're going to be able to focus on your reticle or the rodent, and not both at the same time. So the rimfire editions are built and tested to all the same recoil. They're just focused in a little bit. So the parallax is set at more like 60 or 75 yards, depending which model. And then you've got holdover lines in there that are MOA based. And
also take a look at that 3 to 9 by 33. It has the EFR, the focus ring on the front. Extended focus ring on the front. Gets your focus way down low, which is nice. That's my go-to for a 10 to 22 scope there. Dave Tim, how about a front focal plane VX5 with some mill-based reticles and knobs?
We're always looking at that. So I'm assuming that something like a 5 to 25, that's probably our largest request there. And so that is why the Mark V exists.
Right, yeah, those what you just described was what we have on the Mark V HD line there. So,
but I think the main goal is get that same feature set at a VX5 price point.
Yeah,
probably.
Yep.
And so we're always looking at those things, and we're working on all of it. In order to do it right all the way through and keep everything clean, it does get a little more expensive on front focal, so usually the price goes up. You either sacrifice performance, or we need to keep the cost up a little bit.
You can't cheat physics so much, right? It's kind of inherent to the scope design. So, McPherson 12, is that camo sweatshirt available on the website? So that's a great question. I was going to touch on that. That one isn't yet.
Zach's going to kill me.
Zach, now you have to put that one on the website.
No, it wins.
But if you guys like this stuff, so this sweatshirt, this hat, this is all available now. So shopleupold.com. It's going to be on there, and Leupoldshop.com. I just reversed that. So Leupoldshop.com. Yeah. So go on there. We got a lot of cool T-shirts, cool hats. So I know in the past people have always been like, "Oh, where do I get that Leupold hat or shirt?" So now you guys have the chance to buy this stuff. Not just hats and shirts. There's also bags and stuff on there now. Some of our equipment.
Yeah, the Pro Gear range bags.
The range bags and the really dry bags. Really cool stuff. So go on there, check it out. Absolutely. Plug. Let's see. Craft Summon, what is your warranty on the electronic stuff in the binos? That's a good question because it is a little different from other products there.
Yeah, so the way that we handle warranties on electronics is on something like the Bino, right, where you've got an optical device and an electronic in there. We will warrant the optics forever. The electronics, just due to the nature of electronics, will come with a more limited type of a warranty. So you'll be looking at a 3-year or a 5-year, depending on what they are. This will be a 3 here. One of the main reasons that that's there, if we're just being honest about this, is electronics change, and eventually you can't service them.
Yeah.
So I'm not supposed to say this. What we're trying to do is provide a level of warranty that makes sense for the type of product that it is, but also where possible, when we can service it, we would do that.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
We want to make sure that you come first, but as with any of these things, they change. So if you tried to go buy an iPad 1 now, you can't. You can't get the guts. You can't get the controls. They get hard to service.
Yeah.
That's why you send in your phone. A lot of times they will just try to replace it for you if it's older than a certain age.
Yeah.
That's where it gets tough because we're used to having these things. We can guarantee for 50 years.
Metal and glass are going to last, right?
We can do that. The electronic components just do not have the same ability to stay the same. They just change so fast that pretty soon they're out of service and you can't get what you need anymore.
Yeah, but if you have an issue, call Point Under Leupold. Those guys will work with you. They'll get something figured out for you. We want to get you guys taken care of.
Make sure that you're taken care of no matter what.
Yeah. So, Centerberry, do you guys have a catalog and can I get one? Yes, we do. But the best way to go about it is go to leupold.com. Go to the resources and then find the digital catalogs. So all our catalogs are online. You have a product catalog that has all the great information about the products. We're talking all the specs and dimensions and all that kind of stuff. You can geek out on that. And there's also our consumer guide too. So we're kind of going over there with the consumer guide, kind of going over the new products. We got some features in there too. The one out right now is on some long range shooting tips and stuff like that. So kind of cool. Go check that out at leupold.com. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for questions. We don't have anything else. So Tim, I want to thank you for coming in and talking about all the new stuff. And yeah, this was awesome. So till next time, guys, we'll see you.